Okay, so before we even say hello, I need to tell you what happened to me yesterday morning because it perfectly sums up my entire existence.
Oh no, what did you do?
So I woke up feeling great, genuinely on top of the world, made my coffee, got dressed, packed my bag. I even left the house 5 whole minutes early. 5 minutes, Mary. That basically never happens.
That is a historic event for you.
Completely unprecedented. So I'm walking to the bus stop feeling like a functioning adult, and I look down. I'm wearing two completely different shoes. One black sneaker, one brown loafer. I had to walk back home, change, and I ended up being 10 minutes late.
Alex, how does that even happen? Did you get dressed in the dark?
Essentially, yes. My room was a disaster zone, and I just grabbed one from here, one from there. It was a whole thing.
I love you, but you are a walking cautionary tale, and honestly, that is the perfect introduction to today's episode.
Welcome to English Podcast Daily. I'm Alex.
And I'm Mary, and today we are talking about something that affects every single one of us every single day. Daily life in English. We're talking morning routines, commuting, cooking, small talk at work, evenings and weekends, all of it.
And if you're learning English at a B2 level, this episode is tailor-made for you. We're going to use real, natural expressions, the kind you actually hear in everyday conversations, not the stuff from a textbook that nobody says in real life.
So stick with us because by the end of this episode, you'll have a whole toolkit of vocabulary and phrases that you can use immediately. And if you're enjoying the show, do us a favor, hit subscribe right now. It genuinely means the world to us. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, morning routines, the battlefield of every adult's daily life. Mary, let's be honest. Are you a morning person or are you firmly in the don't talk to me before coffee camp?
Hard, don't talk to me before coffee. I'm a night owl through and through. Getting up early feels physically painful to me, but I've had to adapt. Adulting waits for no one. So I've built a routine that gets me going even when every fiber of my being wants to stay in bed.
Right.
First, and this is non-negotiable, I hit snooze once. Just once. I've accepted that about myself. Then I drag myself out of bed, splash cold water on my face, and make tea. Not coffee, tea, which I know Alex thinks is a personal failing.
It's not a failing, it's just baffling. But go on.
While the tea is brewing, I skim through my to-do list so I know what the day looks like. I find if I don't do that first thing, I feel scattered all day. And then I get ready. I give myself a solid 45 minutes to get ready without rushing. Rushing in the morning ruins my entire mood.
Okay, hit snooze, through and through, every fiber of my being, feel scattered. Listeners, those are all really natural B2 expressions, especially through and through, which just means completely or totally. Like, she's a morning person through and through. Super useful.
And can I add a couple more morning expressions before we move on? Because there are a few really common ones we haven't touched yet. Sleep through the alarm. That means you didn't hear your alarm and you overslept completely. Very different from hitting snooze. This is the more catastrophic version. And get off to a good start. That means the beginning of your day or a project has gone well. I got off to a great start today. Everything went smoothly. You'll hear that one all the time.
And what about you, Mr. Two Different Shoes? What does your morning look like?
In theory, great. In practice, chaotic. I actually love mornings. I'm naturally an early riser. The problem is I'm way too optimistic about how long things take. I wake up thinking, oh, I have loads of time. And then somehow I'm always scrambling at the last minute.
The classic time blindness trap.
Exactly. I'll think, I'll just quickly check my emails, famous last words, and suddenly 20 minutes have gone by and I'm bolting out the door without breakfast, and apparently without checking if my shoes match.
Famous last words and bolting out the door. Love those. Famous last words is something you say when someone is about to make a bad decision, and bolt means to run or leave very suddenly. Like, she bolted out of the meeting the second it ended. Very natural.
I want to add one more thought on commuting. It's actually a really interesting cultural bonding topic. In a lot of English-speaking countries, commuting is something people bond over. If you ask a British person about their commute, you will open a whole conversation. It's like talking about the weather. Everyone has an opinion. How long is your commute or how do you get to work are genuinely great small talk openers, especially when you're new to a job.
And it's worth knowing that commuting vocabulary has some regional differences too. In London, you'd talk about the tube or the underground. In New York or most American cities, it's the subway. In Australia, you might hear the train or public transport more generally. And the rush hour, or peak hour as they say in Australia, means that really hectic time of day when everyone is traveling at once. These regional differences are genuinely useful to know. All right, let's move on to commuting. Now, this is a topic that unites people all around the world because commuting is universally an experience.
That is the most diplomatic way to describe it.
I try. So, I take the subway to work, and look, it gets me there. But rush hour on the subway is genuinely a test of your patience and your personal space tolerance. You're packed in like sardines, everyone's staring at their phone, nobody makes eye contact.
Right.
And here's my thing. I've made peace with the commute by using the time well. I listen to podcasts, including this one, obviously, and I try to get a head start on my day by mentally running through what I need to accomplish. By the time I arrive, I feel like I'm already in work mode.
That's such a good mindset. I walk to work, which I love. It takes about 25 minutes, and honestly, it's my favorite part of the day. There's something about walking that clears your head and helps you ease into the day gradually, rather than just being thrown into it.
Yeah, totally.
The only downside? When it rains. I've shown up to work absolutely drenched more times than I care to admit, even when I had an umbrella, because the wind it doesn't matter. The wind has a personal vendetta against me.
Okay, a few great phrases there. Packed in like sardines means extremely crowded. Make peace with something means you've accepted a situation you can't change. Get a head start means to begin something before others or before you normally would. And ease into the day, that means to start something slowly and gently without any sudden pressure. Good ones, right?
Really good. And drenched, that's an important one. It means completely soaked through with water, not just a little wet, completely drenched. Big difference. And honestly, a word you'll need if you ever commute in a rainy city.
If this episode is helpful to you, by the way, please share it with a friend who's learning English. It literally takes 2 seconds, and it makes a huge difference for us. Okay, grocery shopping and cooking. Let's go.
Oh, this is my territory. I actually enjoy grocery shopping. I know that makes me a minority. I find it weirdly meditative. I go on Saturday mornings before it gets busy. I have my list organized by section. I take my time. It's almost like a little ritual for me.
That's oddly wholesome.
I know, right? And I like to cook, so I actually meal prep on Sundays. I'll make a big batch of something, soup, grains, maybe marinate some chicken, so that weekday evenings aren't so hectic. Having dinner sorted after a long day is genuinely one of life's small pleasures.
I actually tried meal prepping once. Just once. I made a huge pot of chili on Sunday, and honestly, it felt like a massive personal achievement. I was so proud. The only problem was I forgot to put it in the fridge before I went to bed, and by Monday morning, well, let's just say the chili went straight in the bin. And I learned a very important lesson about food safety. Never again.
Oh, Alex, that is genuinely concerning. But okay, for anyone who does want to start meal prepping, the key phrase you'll need is batch cooking. That's when you cook a large quantity of something all at once so you have portions ready to go throughout the week. And portion it out means dividing that large amount into individual servings. Super common expressions in food, wellness, and lifestyle content. And Alex, put things in the fridge.
I bet.
Now, Alex, on the other hand, what does your grocery routine look like? And be honest.
Okay, honestly, I go to the grocery store about 4 times a week in small, panicked trips because I never buy enough in one go. I'll go buy pasta on Monday, forget the sauce. Go back Tuesday for the sauce, realize Thursday I have no vegetables. It's completely inefficient, and I know it.
This is why you need a list, Alex. A list.
I make lists, I just always forget to look at them. They sit on my phone and I walk right past everything on them. As for cooking, look, I can hold my own in the kitchen. I have about 4 or 5 reliable go-to meals. Pasta, stir-fry, eggs in approximately 15 different formats.
Hold your own means you're reasonably competent at something. Not an expert, but you can manage. And go-to, that's a brilliant everyday expression. Your go-to is something you always rely on or choose because you know it works. Like, pizza is my go-to when I can't decide what to eat.
And let me throw in a few more kitchen and food phrases that come up constantly in everyday English. Whip something up. That means to prepare food quickly and easily. I'll just whip up some pasta. Leftovers. Food remaining from a previous meal that you eat the next day. Super common word. And grab a bite. To eat something quickly, usually when you don't have much time. Let's grab a bite before the meeting. All of these you will hear all the time.
Oh, and comfort food. That one is really important and really beautiful. Comfort food is food that makes you feel emotionally better, usually something warm, hearty, and familiar. It's deeply personal. For some people, it's mac and cheese. For others, it's soup or rice. And a home-cooked meal, there's something so nostalgic and warm about that phrase. It implies something made with genuine care and effort, as opposed to something fast or thrown together.
Perfect word. Okay, work and study small talk because this is genuinely one of the trickiest things to get right in English. Not the big conversations, but the small ones. The ones you have at the coffee machine or in the hallway. Let's talk about that.
Yes, small talk is so underrated as a skill. A lot of learners focus on grammar and vocabulary, which is important, but being able to do small talk naturally makes you seem so much more fluent. It's what connects you to people on a human level.
Exactly. And the classic opener in any English-speaking workplace is, "How was your weekend?" Right? It seems simple, but there's a whole art to answering it well.
Right.
Like, not bad, pretty low-key actually. I just recharged and caught up on some reading. What about you? That's perfect. It's warm, it's casual, it invites them to share too. But people often just say fine, and that's it. And then there's this awkward silence.
The dreaded one-word answer. And the key is always to bounce it back. Always ask the other person the same question or a follow-up. That's what keeps a conversation going. Other great small talk phrases at work: "I'm swamped today. It's been one of those weeks. Can't complain. Thank goodness it's almost Friday."
I'm swamped. That's a big one. It means you are overwhelmingly busy, completely overloaded with work. I'd love to help, but I'm totally swamped right now. Very common, very natural.
And it's been one of those weeks. Oh, listeners, this one is gold. You say this when everything has gone wrong and you're exhausted, but you don't want to go into detail. It says everything with just a few words. Everyone immediately understands.
100%. For students specifically, if you're in a class or study group, you might hear things like, "Did you manage to get through the reading?" Or, "I pulled an all-nighter for that assignment." Pull an all-nighter means staying awake all night to work or study. Been there many times.
Same. Or my personal favorite, "I'm running on caffeine at this point," which just means you're surviving entirely on coffee because you're so tired. Very relatable sentence for every student on the planet.
And while we're on work and study language, let's talk about deadlines for a second, because deadline vocabulary is absolutely essential at any level. It's due tomorrow. You hear that everywhere. "I'm behind on this" means you haven't progressed as much as you should have by now. "I'm ahead of schedule" means you're further along than expected. Lucky you if that ever happens. And "I need to wrap this up" means you need to finish something. "Let me wrap this up and I'll be right with you." Okay, evening routines. After a full day of work, commuting, and pretending to be a competent adult, how do you actually unwind, Mary?
Well, since I meal prep, dinner is usually easy. I'll heat something up, actually sit down and eat, which I know that sounds obvious, but I used to eat standing up over the kitchen counter like a gremlin, and I've made a conscious effort to stop doing that. After dinner, I try to have a proper wind down. I'll read for a bit, maybe do some light stretching. I've been really into limiting screen time in the evenings. Not perfectly, but I try. And I'm usually in bed by 10:30. I know, very thrilling life.
Hey, that sounds genuinely healthy. Mine is a work in progress. I get home, I'm usually pretty wiped out. Wiped out meaning exhausted, by the way. I'll cook something or order takeout if it's been a rough day, and then I tend to fall into what I call the just one more episode spiral.
Oh no.
It starts at 9 p.m., it's innocently just one episode, and then suddenly it's 1 in the morning and I'm 3 seasons deep into something I didn't even plan on watching. The next morning is always a disaster, and probably why I end up wearing mismatched shoes.
It all comes full circle. Wind down is a great phrasal verb. It means to relax and calm yourself before bed. And a work in progress means something that isn't finished or perfected yet. It's still being improved. You can use that to describe yourself, your habits, a project, anything. Very flexible phrase.
Okay, last big topic, weekends and social life. Because the way people talk about their social lives in English is so interesting. There's such a variety of lifestyles, and the language reflects that.
Totally. Like, there's a whole spectrum from people who are constantly out, really social, always making plans, to people who are complete homebodies, who want nothing more than a quiet weekend at home. And neither is better, they're just different personalities. And English has great vocabulary for both.
Right. Homebody is someone who prefers staying home over going out. No judgment, that's just their thing. And on the other end, you have someone who's always up for it, meaning enthusiastic about making plans and going out. Are you coming to the party? Yeah, I'm always up for it.
And then there's the classic weekend negotiation, trying to make plans with friends. We should hang out soon. Definitely, let's sort something out. And then 2 weeks pass and nobody has done anything. Does that sound familiar?
It's the universal adult friendship experience. Nobody warns you that making plans as an adult requires the organizational effort of a military operation. You're cross-referencing 3 different schedules, debating 5 different restaurants, and by the time everyone's free, the moment is past.
And on that note, spontaneous plans versus making plans in advance. Both have their place, and both come up constantly in social vocabulary. Some people love being spontaneous, just texting a friend and saying, "Hey, are you free tonight?" Others like to have everything organized well ahead of time. You'll encounter both types in English-speaking cultures, and being able to talk about your preference is a really natural conversation topic. I tend to be pretty spontaneous versus I like to plan things out.
So true. Useful phrases here. Let's nail down a date means to finalize and confirm a specific time. I'll pencil you in. This means to tentatively schedule something knowing it might change. I'm free that weekend. Pencil me in. Very common in casual and professional settings.
And if something comes up and you can't make it, I hate to bail, but something came up. Bail means to cancel plans at the last minute. It has a slightly apologetic tone. You wouldn't say it in a formal email, but between friends, it's perfect.
And the response when someone bails on you? No worries. Let's reschedule. Super gracious. Super English. You're hiding your disappointment with a smile. Very culturally on point. And just to round out the social vocabulary, catch up with someone means to meet a friend you haven't seen in a while and talk about what's been going on in your lives. Let's catch up soon is honestly one of the most frequently used phrases in the English-speaking world. And make it up to someone. That means to compensate for a disappointment or a time you let someone down. I had to cancel our plans, but I'll make it up to you. Gracious, warm, and very natural. Accurate. Now tell me, are you more of a homebody on weekends or are you out and about?
Honestly, a bit of both, depending on the week. If it's been really hectic at work, I crave a quiet weekend. A long walk, reading, maybe brunch with 1 or 2 close friends. Low-key, restorative. But if the week has been fine, I love being social. Going out for dinner, catching a film, exploring somewhere new.
I also want to mention quality time, because it comes up a lot when people talk about weekends and relationships. Quality time means time spent doing something meaningful with someone you care about. It's not about how long you spend with someone, but how fully you're engaged and present with them. I try to have quality time with my family on weekends. You will hear that expression constantly. It's warm, emotionally resonant, and very natural in English conversation. Yeah, I tend to overcommit. I'll say yes to everything on Monday. Yeah, I'm in for Friday dinner and the Saturday thing and the Sunday brunch. And then by Friday, I'm like, what have I done to myself? I've overextended myself socially.
Overcommit and overextend yourself. Those are great ones. Overcommit means to promise more than you can actually deliver, and overextend yourself means you've taken on too many obligations and you're stretched thin. Both very relatable and very useful in everyday conversation.
Incredibly relatable. Okay, we are coming up on the end of the episode, which means recap time. We covered a lot today, so let's do a quick run through. Mary, hit it.
All right. Morning routines, we talked about hitting snooze, being a night owl or an early riser, feeling scattered, and bolting out the door. Commuting, packed in like sardines, make peace with something, get a head start, ease into the day, and drenched.
Grocery and cooking, hold your own, go-to meals, meal prep, and sorted. Work and study, swamped, it's been one of those weeks, pull an all-nighter, running on caffeine, and bounce it back in a conversation.
Evening routines, wind down, wiped out, and a work in progress. And weekends, homebody, up for it, nail down a date, pencil someone in, bail on plans, and overcommit. That is a seriously solid collection of everyday English.
It really is. And now, your weekly challenge. We do this every episode to make sure you actually use what you've learned, because that's the only way it sticks.
This week's challenge is this. Write a short paragraph, 5 to 8 sentences, describing your typical weekday. Use at least 6 of the expressions we talked about today. You can write it in a journal, in the comments on our podcast page, or just text it to yourself. The key is to actually produce the language. Don't just listen, use it.
We would genuinely love to read what you write, so if you want to share it with us, drop it wherever you find us online. And if you want bonus points, and I know you do, try to use "It's been one of those weeks" in a real conversation this week. Just drop it in naturally and see what happens.
I love that challenge. Okay, before we go, a genuine ask from both of us. If this episode helped you, if it made you laugh, if you learned something new, please subscribe to English Podcast Daily and share this episode with someone who's learning English, even just one person. It helps us reach more learners, and it means we can keep making this show.
It genuinely means everything. And hey, to everyone listening today, your English is better than you think. Every episode you listen to, every expression you try, every conversation you push yourself through, it all adds up. Keep going. You've got this.
Beautifully said. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode of English Podcast Daily. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new topic, more stories, more vocabulary, and almost certainly another embarrassing story about Alex.
I will not disappoint. Take care of yourselves, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.